Delhi's youngest were out in force. India's capital is one of 1,000 cities where school children planned protests against grown-up inaction on climate change, sparked in part by Swedish 16-year-old Greta Thunberg.
I support Greta Thunberg, like she's the only one who took initiative in Sweden, and because of her we got to know about this situation, and we are supporting her for our benefits only.
The children were joined by some with a few more years of breathing Delhi's infamous smog, sometimes described as deadly. Older protesters have all but given up on their own generation and are looking to the next for a solution.
Now the children will come forward. It's for them. It's their future. We have ruined it for them. And I have no hope from our generation also. I mean, even forget the government, even citizens.
In Hong Kong, the young generation borrowed chants from the old, making their point clear. Act on climate change now. Deny the deniers, they said. In Berlin, young people were practically bouncing off walls and trees. Students, mostly, and the odd parent, teacher, or adult activist, thrilled to be out of their normal Friday routine, and they hoped making a difference. Finally, where it all started, Greta herself was on stage in Stockholm, but not the center of it all. She has said time and again, the issue is the climate, not the young woman who started a movement.
Our very own Kate Brady is out on the streets of Berlin, where students have gathered for the Global Climate Action March. Kate, the young people there are skipping school, braving the cold to be out on the streets. What's the mood among them calling for action against climate change?
Well, I think, as you might be able to see and hear behind me here, Terry, the mood here is certainly one full of high spirits, but there's also a sense of frustration here as well from these students who, as you say, are skipping school, calling for action against climate change, and they're frustrated at the older generations and, of course, most of all, at those politicians who are currently in power here in Germany.
What do they want, Kate? What are these students who are out on the streets who, obviously, they want their future preserved, but what specifically are their demands?
Well, there are a number of demands, but specifically to Germany, one of the big issues for students here is the phase-out of coal-fired energy. And at the moment, the German government plans to phase out coal-fired energy by 2038. And for these students here on strike today, that's just simply not soon enough. And they want to see the end of coal-fired power by the end of 2030. And they're also calling for some wider demands, such as action against reducing greenhouse gases and also reducing the use of plastic as well. But what they really want to see is some immediate action in response to these strikes, which have been going on for 2 months now here in Germany.
This Fridays for Future movement, Kate, it has turned into a global phenomenon. How much momentum does it have? When you're out there on the streets talking to these young people, do you get the feeling that there is a movement that might have some staying power?
Well, it certainly seems that they do have some staying power. So far, the German kids here have been hitting the streets across Germany, not just here in Berlin, but nationwide since January now. So not the best time of year to be heading out onto the streets either. So certainly not fair weather demonstrators. And the numbers are growing. There's an estimated 10,000 school kids out on the streets today here in Berlin alone. And I think while those numbers continue to increase, we will certainly see some momentum continuing behind these demonstrations, and they're also gaining more support as well from parents and grandparents. And as you might be able to see from some of the people walking behind me here, every week there are also more parents and even some teachers coming out in support now of these students who are leading this movement.
DW's Kate Brady out on the streets of Berlin. Thank you so much.